prices are down. You know, when I hear the Democrats, they come out with sound bites. They say, prices are up under Trump. No, they're way down. I brought them way down.
Now, I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
He said, I love you, Mr. Trump. I need to see the fruit of your love.
5 of my customers have committed. That's how serious that this is.
And what it costs for us to farm is astronomical now.
I farm with paid-for equipment. All my tractors are 50 years old, and I can't hardly make this deal work. I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm.
After a horrible year last year where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
We made a decision to go out this year in the spring. So my son will not be the 7th generation on our farm.
We're going to lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
Like, I can't be surprised, but it is, like, it's astounding, right? Because, like, there's got to be somebody lying to him, right? Like, at least about the economy. Because didn't this guy run on being a brilliant businessman? How do you become a brilliant New York businessman if you don't understand how numbers work? Unless he was lying about that too. But that can't be right. Trump was probably just doing what he always does, which is manifest his own reality, like a kombucha drinking Instagram influencer who doesn't wear deodorant, which might explain why Trump is often accused of smelling really bad. But the reality here is that people are aware that the economy is not doing well, and the Trump administration seems to be aware that people are aware of that, which is why later we're going to hear from my doppelganger, Vice President J.D. Vance, even though my wife says I don't look anything like him. Okay? And I'm very thankful for that. And this is called COPE, which is the second stage after denial, which is where Trump's at. Here's the clip.
A new NBC News poll shows Americans are feeling negative about President Trump's job performance, particularly when it comes to the economy. According to the latest NBC News Decision Desk poll, when asked about inflation and the cost of living, 61% of Americans say they disapprove of the president's handling of it so far. 59% said they disapprove of President Trump's handling of trade and tariffs.
I mean, it's almost like tariffs are a kind of regressive tax that disproportionately hurt people who are making less money because they take up a higher percentage of their money. Now, it's really easy to make fun of Trump over the whole tariffs thing. And I do maintain that he still has no idea what tariffs actually are. But the reality is that they are causing suffering for people, sometimes people who voted for Trump because they were suffering. Now, whenever something like this happens, whenever you see sort of capitalism start falling off the rails a little bit and people aren't really happy, obviously what you do is you blame socialism, a completely different economic system, right? I mean, isn't that? And then probably Zohran Mamdani is to blame somehow, I guess. You know, whenever I get confused with things like this, I decide to consult the experts at Fox News.
Looking at this from someone who also wants to win elections, I know that this is what Republicans want to talk about, and they're doing a great job of it, and they do it every election cycle. But it is not working. People know their grocery prices are high because of Donald Trump, not because of Zohran Mamdani. They are watching what's going on with the Epstein saga. They're watching what's going on with their health care premiums. And if Trump thinks he can run an election just saying, like, you know, socialism bad, it's not going to work out.
No, we're just going to run on your party saying socialism good.
Yeah, and that's what you've done before and lost elections on it.
So that guy is what's called a doofus, but the joke that Gutless Field was making there actually has a very long history. Basically, throughout the 20th century, a small group of right-wing business owners hired PR firms, and they used information that came out of the fledgling fields of advertising and psychology to essentially unleash this massive PR campaign and dissuade the American public from ever believing in domestic economic programs because those higher taxes cut into their profits, and they hate people, and so that's kind of part of it. Now, does Gutfield know that he's just regurgitating propaganda? I don't know, and I don't care. Okay, because what's exciting here is that somehow in all of this mess, socialism is somehow becoming slightly more popular. You know, which, I mean, it's like that takes a lot of work to kind of undo over a century of brainwash. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but like, God bless the USA, right? Right. No, all right. I tried.
Capitalism is taking a nosedive. Just 54% of the public now has a favorable view of capitalism. Now, that's the lowest Gallup has ever measured. You could probably guess which party is causing the slide. You got it right. Only 42% of Democrats view capitalism favorably, while 66% have a positive view of socialism.
I'm honestly shocked at how good those numbers are. And I think it's generally a good thing if people start kind of questioning what they think about domestic economic programs and maybe whether things where we can come together collectively to help us collectively are, I don't know, like a good thing. But as happy as I am about that, it is unfortunate. It requires people having a hard time making ends meet. But what's the alternative? You know, like a revolution? I mean, I'll do it if you do it, but like, you got to do it. You go do it and we'll go do it. But I am down. If you're down, I'm down. We'll get on the group thread and we'll figure it out. So to round this out, here is a clip of evidently what the Vice President of the United States has recently said. And it has a hint of self-awareness from the Trump administration. I mean, check this out.
But there are two main indicators for why I think Steve Kornacki is wrong about what's going to happen in the midterms. The first is that J.D. Vance is saying himself that the Republicans are going to lose, telling Laura Trump on Saturday. The bad news is one of the pollsters once told me that anger usually wins midterm elections. And because we've done so much of what we said we were going to do, people are angry. So thank you, JD. The second one is that the big, beautiful bill has an approval rating of -22. And the Republicans had to have an emergency meeting last week with Tony Fabrizio, their pollster, to work on a rebrand. So they want to call it now the Working Families Tax Credit Bill or something like that. But people know what it is. It's a tax break for the rich, and they're going to take away your health care.
You mean like the Inflation Reduction Act?
It doesn't matter. This is the
Remember
thing.
that?
See, you won in 2024. Act like it. You have a new election coming. You have to defend yourself each time. We lost in 2024. That's why I say we've been admitting it. Biden was too old. He shouldn't have been the candidate. People chose Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. We're working on identity politics. We're working on good economic policy. The voters are saying that they are not into this. He is underwater in every single major category. -2 on crime, -6 on border security, -14 deportation.
What do you above water on?
-22 inflation.
Jessica, that's the point.
Yeah, JD, people are angry because you're doing what you said you do. Let me break this down for you, Twinsy. When you say you're going to do something and you do it, but what you said you were going to do is bad for the American people in every quantifiable way, yeah, people are going to get angry. And can we just take a moment and appreciate that it took a pollster to teach the Vice President of the United States that anger can sometimes win elections? Baby boy, how do you think he got to the White House? Do you think it's just midterms? Do you think everybody was super chill and happy about Biden? And they were like, okay, let me just go change the president real quick. I don't think so, but I do like the idea of just J.D. Vance being like, oh, wow, never even thought about that. Anyway, the economy sucks because the Trump administration is making things materially worse for the American public. But that reality is no match against the fantasies in Trump's head that keep his corpse animated. What are you going to do there? He lives in his own world, and we're kind of not even living in it with him at all, I don't think, at this point. And it's not even at this point, things are so bad that we're turning against just the Republican Party or just the Trump administration. If the sentiment is even shifting away from our one true God, which is neoliberal capitalism, then stuff is going down. Okay. And I do recommend checking out how groups like AAPA and NAM successfully shifted the American public's opinion on domestic economic programs that would have otherwise gone to help suffering people out of their own selfishness. It's incredibly fascinating. And it also, I think, gives a really important context for when you're watching Fox News and you're seeing someone like Gutfeld, who I got to say, just hilarious, just a hilarious guy. My favorite part of that is when his foot started going like that really hard. Like even his foot knew he was full of it. Anyway, thank you guys. Let me know what you think. And I will see you next week as we continue to crumble into dust but we laugh about it because what else are you going to do?